Let's talk about the you have here on the title a mass abduction again, which is a reference to the rapture. But let's talk about what people might not know is the reality of abductions that have been examined by Harvard scientists, others that they're looking at these abductions, which is setting the stage as a foundation for the final massive abduction. Talk about abductions.
Yeah, well, again, as you mentioned, we have a whole section there dealing with that aspect. And again, if you're intellectually honest, you deal with the facts, including the facts coming from these critters. When you lay it all out, they begin to explain by their words and their actions and their behavior who they really are. Again, you can call yourself alien all you want. They're really a demon disguising themselves as alien. And part of that is because they've trained us to be anti-biblical, anti-God. We don't want to believe in supernatural. Don't talk about demons. You're a wacko. We believe in science nowadays, follow the science, all that mantra, blah, blah, blah. So they still got to do their dirty deed, and that's what they're doing. So they just, we're not demons. People freak out and be afraid. That's too obvious. We're an alien here. It's the same thing, but they tell you that. And part of the reason why we know that they tell you that is, you mentioned the communication aspect. Right? You're supposed to be this higher technologically advanced race. And you'd think that if you're here to help us and with this information we desperately need at this time in mankind's crisis, which is what they say, well, how about send me an email or let's come down and have a conference, like we're doing right now. Hey, let's do a podcast. So let's have a cup of coffee. Let's talk about that. Send me a text, something. Oh, no. The only way we can get this information is they literally a person has to get into an altered state of consciousness. And these beings come inside of them and they speak through them. Excuse me? That's demonic. That's a demonic practice that God forbids because it's a mediumship. That's when demons possess somebody. And that's what these things do. It's like you're supposed to be this higher advanced race, but you're resorting to an occult technique that God forbids because it's demonic. That's a big clue. Another thing is they want full-on possession of people. They want to take over people's bodies. And typically when that happens, sure enough, just like the biblical account, when you see people possessed, they go insane, they go further away from God, they propagate evil and things that lead people away from God and or kill themselves. And that's the exact same thing when people have encounters with these things. The other thing too is what's really wild, and I'm convinced only the Bible gives us the answer, but of all things for these critters to do to people when they abduct them, in secular ufologists even admit this, is oftentimes the people are subjected to sexual experimentation.
It's very common.
And that has just been out there for a long time. As crazy as that sounds, you're like, well, what's that? How's that a demon? Well, go back to what? Genesis 6. And you got the sons of God, the demons that cohabit. So you're dealing with the Nephilim issue. Now, the reason why that's important is because what did Jesus say? In Matthew 24:37, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. What was going on in the days of Noah? So that we know that it's getting close to the second coming of Jesus Christ. Well, number one, Jesus said there in Matthew 24, it was a time, again, people were scoffing about God's coming judgment. They were eating, drinking, business as usual, giving in marriage. That's our world today. You and I try to tell them about, hey, man, you better get right with God. Yeah. I got to get to work. What are you, a wacko? I'm getting married next week. I don't have time for this, right? All that stuff. So that's here today. The Genesis account in 6 tells us another sign of the days of Noah is it was so evil that the thoughts of man were continually wicked all the time and it grieved God's heart. Well, I believe we're there as well. There's the thoughts of people. You can't go anywhere. There's evil everywhere. You can't, as a Christian, you almost want to blindfold yourself and not just your eyes, your ears. There's wickedness everywhere and people think it. It's just, so we're there. But it's that third aspect that people kind of shy away from or have never been taught or just skip over and they don't realize what they're reading. But it talks about how these demonic creatures were mingling with the daughters of men. Out came some sort of a hybrid issue.
If supernatural interference that involved genetic manipulation.
Exactly. And
which was sexual, obviously.
Exactly. And so then again, go back to these guys. Of all things you're doing to people.
Yeah, weird, huh?
Is again, where have I heard that before? Genesis, Nephilim, demons, right? You're doing the same thing. And the reason why that's important and the reason why we deal with that, as crazy as that sounds, because Jesus said it, I didn't. You're going to see a repeat of this behavior right before I come back and put a stop to all of it, basically, right? And so that's another sign, though, that you're dealing with some sort of a demonic entity because they're doing the same thing that the demons of old did. They're doing it again today. The way they communicate, you'd think you'd give us something we could use. but you're here to debunk Christianity, say that Jesus came from the ETs. That's where he got his power. Satan's a good guy. Followed the Antichrist kingdom. That's really. How about a cure for cancer? Right? How about solve some world crisis? You come all the way over here to try to debunk only the biblical version of creation, the existence, salvation alone through Jesus Christ, the need of redemption. And then you promote the Antichrist kingdom. You say Satan's a good guy, and then you cohabitate like demons of old in the Genesis 6 account. Really? And again, as you see, there's like 14 chapters. We slowly begin to, if you're intellectually honest, we provide the evidence. And this evidence is coming from them. This is coming from their camp. This is coming from their alien mouth, and things of that nature. This is what they are saying to people. This is from all over the world. This is their actions. And so we just cataloged it all. And as we bring it forth, then we compare it to the scripture, going like, okay, as if the first 6 reasons didn't show you what you're dealing with, here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. And then that's why we end, though, on, okay, I get it that this is a demonic deception, but where's it going? Bingo. Explain away the mass abduction. Now, see, that's what they're going to tell the world. The world will be told, is it UFOs and aliens? That's what we saw with the mass abduction. The Bible calls it the rapture, and it won't be from aliens. It'll be from Jesus coming to get his bride.
And it's interesting too, because the whether all the movies that we've seen, again, of abductions happening, it's conditioning everybody to think in terms of these other beings doing abductions. Let me ask you this. So on the cover of your book, you got a craft there.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate a craft appearing and being as physical as this table?
Well, there's two things, and we actually demonstrate either scenario. And because I'm based on the research, most importantly on the scripture, and the character of Satan, the demons, but again, also their own messages they're telling people. They are preparing themselves to explain away the rapture. I have no doubt about that, and we document that very thoroughly. And but it wouldn't surprise me that right after the rapture, to further get people to buy into that lie, that they don't appear. To use the phrase, when we disappear, they appear.
Yeah, LA always says, we go up, they show up.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so that, well, how are they going to do that? And so we actually have a section on there with two different angles. Both are very viable. Now, I'm not going to say thus saith the Lord, because we're going to be gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But they're very viable. Number one, for years, people have talked about something called Project Bluebeam, and where the governments around the world have the ability to do these mass holograms that they could do. And so imagine when people are visibly leaving and then they go into the clouds, okay, they're at the biblical rapture. But then right after that, next thing you know, you see around the world ships of massive size, like citywide size, coming out of the sky and just hovering there in the air, right? Right afterwards, right? And you're going like, could they have that technology? Yeah, a lot of people believe I would call Project Bluebeam.
DARPA,
and so, but we also bring out this other aspect, and we actually interview military folks, and they just shared with us declassified military information, and just the declassified. The rule is we are at least 50 years behind actual technology, and that includes flying technology that they could use. So whether it's a Project Bluebeam hologram that appears after the rapture,
not physically
right?
real,
or government military aircraft around the world that, dare I say, is alien-like, but it's legit. You can touch it, right? That could be utilized as well. So either one's possible. Now, again, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, but it certainly starts to make sense, right? Because these people, they don't know the timing of the rapture no more than you and I do. Because
when you say these people, which people?
The people that are working with these critters who believe,
who believe
that the message that they're saying, and dare I say, people out of the occult, the New World Order folks, they want a one world government. They want a one world religion. They want a one world ruler to govern the planet. And that's the same message these guys are saying. See, if you want to bring peace to the planet, it's basically man's version of utopia. It's the lie that we don't need Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, to bring peace to the planet. And that's the only way it's going to happen. That's in the millennial kingdom. It's basically their version of a pseudo millennium, right? So after the rapture, and you get all those nasty people in the way, they're restraining influence, those Christians.
Light's gone.
As they would say, holding up the harmony of the earth, right? As soon as they're gone, These people that they think it's a good thing. Get rid of those troublemakers. Finally, got rid of those troublemakers.
We can advance, right?
Now we can finally bring in this. There's different names for it. New World Order. That is not a. I remember I came across this in our study on Satanism. That is actually a term that's been around for a long time in early forms of Satanism called Theosophy from Madame Blavatsky back in the day. And they were referring to, and Theosophy believes Satan's a good guy, Lucifer the light, and he's come to show us how to bring peace to the planet. We don't need Jesus. That's the rebellion. But anyway, so that's way back in the days when that was, so New World Order, Age of Utopia, Age of Aquarius. Remember that song? Right?
Yep.
But they're talking about man will do it. Man will work it out. Anyway, so these people are part of that camp. That's the same message from these lying aliens, really repackaged demons, are saying. So they think it's a good thing. That's what they want. So here's my point. So then visibly appear or disappear, go up Christians, and then they use either actual technology that we are not privy to, but this alien-like, way advanced, would probably freak us out if we could see what they really got. And that's coming from the military guys I interviewed. And then, or Project Bluebeam. And the deception is set. The deception is set because you think about human nature in a time of crises is you will gravitate towards pretty much any excuse just to maintain your sanity.
Yeah, and order. I mean,
right?
absolutely.
And that's just human basic nature.
Yep.
But think about this. This isn't just some excuse. Think about when the rapture happens, when people literally, and dare I say even in this context, visibly disappear. You can't stop it. It's going on. It's a global shock and awe, right? You better come up with something real fast to explain that away. And again, this isn't just some lame excuse. Right? You could probably come up on the scene. People are in such shock and awe. You could say, I know what happened to your loved one. This was some secret agent program from Jeff Bezos of Amazon.
Exactly.
And, these are the people who resisted the Amazon Prime. What are you coming?
Whatever,
and people
right?
go, okay, yeah, I'll believe that. Just to maintain sanity. This isn't just some lame excuse. It's been slowly, methodically foisted upon us, started 150 years ago more, with the live evolution, Charles Darwin, moving forward just to get that mindset to lead to the next mindset. Now that there's aliens evolution out there, and then you could explain this away. But as soon as that happens, here comes spaceships in whatever form, right? Maybe they land on the White House lawn or whatever, and other places around the world. Mondo, people will fall for it just like that. And this is what demons are doing. They'll never equate it with even the rapture.
No. There's been so much blindness.
Right. And then, and dare I say, who's at fault in this too? The church.
Yep.
Who refuses to teach on prophecy.
Yep.
You think that's by chance?
Nope.
No way.
Yep.
No way. The time when this is getting so close to explain away the rapture, for decades now, we've had the church that will not even preach on that. Or some that would say you and I are complete wackos. And we need to symbolize books of the Bible that talk about this, including Revelation, things of that nature.
Theology and the heresy and just stupidity. And